and welcome to episode 20 of Healing Vibrations, the show that looks to change perspective of illness to see if we can really see it as a gift. And today I'm really excited to be joined again by Andrea Thomas. So if you remember, she joined me in episode 9 when we talked some of Andrea's story with MS and how she changed battling the beast to actually collaborating and seeing the gift within it. And yeah, here we are again on the cusp of some really exciting stuff, because both Andrea and I have been asked to speak in the Symptom-Free MS Summit, which is taking place later this month on the 20th of June, which brings together, I think there's 22 other speakers that are coming together in this field, all with the same message that actually healing yourself is possible, and it is a gift. It is a gift, and this is all about how we can unwrap it. So welcome again, Andrea. Let me tell you who Andrea is. Andrea is a health and mindset coach who is living symptom-free after a diagnosis with MS, because she has unwrapped the gift, or I don't think it ever gets totally unwrapped. There's always more to unwrap, but she is unwrapping it and living a fantastic life irrespective of a frightening diagnosis. So welcome, Andrea. Thank you.
Hi, thanks, Gina.
So what is going on in your world at the moment?
Well, just busy as always. Got some clients, building the business up nice and slowly, looking after myself, well, as always.
Yes, well done for that reminder, because I think that's a big part, isn't it, of not only when you're building up your business and wanting to run your own business, because that can quite easily take over, but also even when you're working, when you're running a family, when you're keeping a house, and when you've got life to deal with.
Yeah, that's like one of the key questions people always say to me, and it was one of the things I always used to say. Well, I don't have time. I don't have time. I don't have time. I never have enough time. I haven't got time. It's one of the words that we just say, isn't it? But no, that just means you're not prioritizing. You're choosing to prioritize certain things and not prioritize other things, which is fine, but it's not that you don't have the time.
No, that's correct, because we all have time, don't we? We all have 24 hours in every day that we can choose to do with what we want. Sometimes it feels like we're not in, I want to say control's not the right word, but we haven't got control over our choices, but we do have, don't we?
We absolutely have control of our choices, total control. And if you would have said that to me 5 years ago, I would have laughed in your face. I would have said that's complete rubbish. You don't know what you're talking about. You don't live my life. Who are you to say that? And now I'm like, no, it's absolutely true. It's absolutely true. It's all just, it's all within your control, all of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the time thing is something that I have been and still working on, really. We want to make peace with time without feeling like you when you wake up, you're almost running to catch the train before it's taken off the train that starts the day. And now it feels very much, not all the time, but very much more like, okay, I'm going to take the train at my pace and know that when I'm ready to step on it, it will be there.
And I think somebody once said to me, are you a sprinter, a jogger, or a walker? And I was like, I'm a sprinter. I want to go 100 miles an hour. I love being 100 miles an hour. And I do love 100 miles an hour. I thrive off it. I'm full of beans. But my problem was that's addictive. That energy is addictive. And that's why I kept falling off a cliff with my MS fatigue, and ended up with chronic fatigue and be off work for 6 to 8 weeks at a time, because I was addicted to that energy. And that energy is impossible to maintain it for anyone, and especially when you're trying to manage a chronic illness. But that's the world that we live in, and we're programmed to believe that that's how you should live. So and it took me a long time, because I still love that energy. I like that energy, but I have to balance it. I choose to balance it. I want to balance it. I love the tortoise I don't really like the hair anymore.
Well, the thing is that you know, we all have to stop and rest at some point. So it doesn't matter how strong your body is and how fueled up it is, and if you know, looked after it to its optimum. It's like any vehicle, I suppose. There is a time when you've got to bring it into the garage and maintain it. You think of those Formula One drivers that go around the, you know, the tracks. They get called in, don't they? They get called in to have a tire change and
absolutely
fuel
and
change.
I would argue there's nobody in optimal health who is not prioritizing rest. There's not one person. If they believe that they are in optimal health, they might have a six-pack and they might have a favorable weight on the scales, and they might look great in some clothing or other, but I would argue they don't have optimal health. That's a nightmare waiting to happen.
Yeah,
if you don't
and I think
rest.
And people who, you know, and I'm thinking in my head, athletes, really, you think of the optimal health, but they will definitely prioritize rest, and self-care will be very high up in there.
Absolutely.
On their
Because they are treated like a Formula One car. That's how they're treated. And like you say, a Formula One car has to go into the pits every now and again, and you know,
and then in between races, of course, it has a full overhaul, doesn't it, of everything?
Absolutely. And it's so weird, isn't it? We naturally, well, we have to legally put our car in for an MOT. We legally have to put our car in for a service. We legally have to make sure it's insured to be roadworthy with our lump of metal car that gets us from A to B, but we don't do it for our own bodies. It's crazy.
Yeah, it is crazy. And I'm thinking, I mean, if you're lucky and in the right area, maybe by the time you're 50, you might get pulled into the doctors for a checkup.
Yeah.
But chances are now you probably won't. And what actually does that checkup involve as well? So this is about taking responsibility for yourself, and not just using our car analogy, just waiting for the garage to pick up what's wrong with your car. If you get in tune with your car and look after it, then you'll know when it's not running 100%. You'll know when something's clicking in the background or something's rattling or something like that. So you will know. And if we can do that for our cars, then surely we can do that for ourselves.
It's a total retraining of the way that we've been brought up to think about health and think about time and think about prioritizing ourselves. And we've just been, certainly in our generation, we've just been carried along on this hamster wheel of just keep going, just, you know, and blinkered that there's only one way, that there's this linear life that we've just got to keep going to this imaginary something or other, that's
success that's in the distance somewhere,
wherever that looks like, and just keep, it's absolutely bonkers. And I think that, like, the pandemic has given us that opportunity to just pause. I think me and you paused long before the pandemic, but for a lot of people, and a lot of people didn't like that pause. They didn't know what to do with their thoughts. They didn't know how to process because they haven't been taught. But that did give a lot of people that opportunity, and now they're more resentful than ever of getting back on that hamster wheel.
Well, this is it, because actually recognize that a slower pace of life is more enjoyable. And surely if we're here on this planet, then, you know, we want to enjoy what we are doing. You know, at any given moment, there is a multitude of things that you could be doing. I do this exercise sometimes for myself when I get a bit overwhelmed and thinking, it's like, well, what could I be doing right now? And just write a list of all the things that I could be, all the things that I think I should be, all the things that maybe I would like to be, all the things that maybe I would like not to do. You know, I just want to sit and actually write them all down. And what could you be doing? Well, actually, in this moment, it doesn't matter, does it? It's what it's not what you do, it's how you feel about what you do.
Yeah, absolutely. And that is basically at the forefront of my thoughts every day. My tagline in my business is helping you to feel good and live well, because to me, everything I do now is with the right, does this make me feel good? And if it doesn't, it goes right to the back of the queue. That's just the way it is. That's just the way I choose to live my life now. And it is a choice.
Wow. So has any things gone off the list altogether then? Have you just...
Oh yeah, ironing, gardening, because I don't like gardening, housework in general, anything to do with housework, really, basically. That's totally DIY, gone off the list. Shopping, I hate shopping. Yeah, going even like, and I know maybe it's my age, but like I was a proper party girl, and I love a good party, but I find it a little bit overwhelming now, and I'll do it occasionally, but it's certainly not a every weekend thing. I choose to just take that. I'd rather a couple of intimate conversations with people now, but I think that is an age thing as well.
Yeah, I think it probably is. And I don't know about you, but I want my connections now to mean something. I don't just want to spend an evening getting mindlessly drunk and not remembering the conversation, even though, you know, I know I've had some great nights being drunk, don't get me wrong, but the morning after and the aftermath from it is not worth it. And also to recognize, I don't actually remember what I talked about. I had a great conversation with whoever it was, but
and then because you're then recovering from the Sunday, and then going back into work on the Monday to do another 40-hour week, when you've got children at home and everything else that you've got to do, and because you're on this treadmill, I would totally ignore the fatigue that was building up and building up and building up, and I'd ignore the MS symptoms that were building up and building up, because you're like, well, I want to go out on a Saturday night and a Friday night, and I want to see the girls, and I want to do this and I want to do that, and then
I can't do everything,
and I can't do it, but then you have to go to work, and it was just relentless. And it's like, well, why should I give up the weekend with the girls? I can't give up the work, but I don't want to give up the weekend with the girls, but then now my thought is always, is this going to make me feel good?
Yeah, they're going to make me feel good in the end. And sometimes it's just adjusting how you think about it as well, isn't it? I don't know about you, but it is just recognizing, actually, if I'm going to go to this thing, whatever it is, I'm going to thoroughly enjoy it. So I'm going to set myself up to intend what I want to happen, how I want to feel about it. You know, how do I want to feel at the end of it? What sort of time do I want to go to bed? And all these sort of things you can think about up front. And it's not saying it's set in stone and you can't change your mind, but it's just good to have that consciousness about what you're doing, rather than just, like you said, just keep going on with your head down and
it is that consciousness, isn't it? It's about raising your awareness and becoming conscious of the decisions and choices that are in front of you, choosing what's your priority, and then making that decision on the back of it. So it's about prioritizing you. It's about prioritizing your time, prioritizing your energy, because we've all got finite energy. Well, you could argue it's infinite, but you know.
Well, I think it is, but it's also, because it's quite interesting, because coming from a coaching point of view, and I don't know about you when you speak to potential clients, but quite often one of the objections, because we all have objections about why we don't want to move forward with something, is money. It's either time or money, and time and money are both those things that actually we've all got in some form, and what we choose to spend them on. So what are you choosing to spend your time on, and what are you choosing to spend your money on? And that will give you a really good idea about what priorities are in your life right now.
I remember speaking to one client, and he said, it was a man, and he said, well, I'll just feel good for that 2-week holiday. I'll just feel normal for that 2-week holiday. And I went, well, don't you want to feel normal all the time? No, so I'll spend £2,000 on a all-inclusive in Turkey for 2 weeks. I'm making that up. I don't think he was going for an all-inclusive in Turkey, but rather than spend less than that on something that's going to give you sustained energy and health 52 weeks of the year. Why? It's this whole idea again of investing in yourself. And I've never met anyone, I've not met one person in the coaching world, the therapy world, clients, even just training for, I don't know, to learn Spanish, anything that where you invest in your, I've never heard anyone regret it.
No,
absolutely. Ever regret spending money on something that's going to help them grow and learn.
And I think that, so I think maybe underlying the I haven't got the time, I haven't got the money, is definitely a resistance thing. And we know that. I mean, that's this coaching talk for anybody out there who doesn't know what we mean by resistance, but that's the first thing that comes up. I just haven't got time for that. And like you said, Andrea, at the beginning of your journey, that's exactly what you said.
Oh, absolutely.
And I would have said the same thing. I definitely would have said the same thing. In fact, I did. If I look back over the course of years before, when I started paying for coaching, when I hadn't, and I can't afford that right now, or I don't want to spend my money on that right now.
Yeah, and I mean, I still do it. It's not like I'm just going to hand over thousands and thousands of pounds for something, but if it feels good,
yes,
and it's the right time, then I'll do it, because I just want to constantly learn and grow and improve, and all those beautiful juicy words. Why would you stay put? Why?
Well, I think that's it, because if we stay put, if we get to a place where we're comfortable with, we're happy with our bodies, we're happy with our lives, we're happy with our financial situation, then it's quite easy to, I'm just going to sit here because this is nice. But actually, after a period of time, and it probably won't be that much time, you'll start feeling agitated. You won't feel as happy and comfortable, because then the things that you were striving for, you've now got, and now they're like boring. Now it's like, oh,
yeah, because we're in this constant battle with ourselves as humans, aren't we? We've got this amazing frontal cortex that constantly wants us to grow and learn and explore and find and learn and just grow and move on. And then we've got this prehistoric part of us that just wants to go, no, don't do it.
Stay safe.
And so
be lazy.
Lazy.
Stay in bed all day.
So we're just and people, I think, who have never done anything like what we do with coaching or therapy or anything like that, take that on as a character flaw of theirs. Oh, I'm just too lazy. Oh, I just procrastinate. Oh, I just, that's not for me. I look after everyone else. I don't do it for me.
Oh, that's a big one. You must hear that a lot in the MS world, in the autoimmune disease. It's like, again, the priority, making yourself a priority over your kids and your husband and your family and your dog and your cat and all of those things, and you're way down the list.
I look after everyone else. So who looks after you? Well, no one looks after me. I look after me. And how's that working out? Well, not great, because I don't have time. Okay. It's really funny. But once you start unpicking, it doesn't take long for the penny to drop when you start working with somebody.
And absolutely, you can start carving out little, you don't need days and days, hours and hours to do this work. You just know. You need a commitment to yourself that actually you're going to take, whatever you need to take in that day, whether that's 5 minutes or 5 seconds even, but actually start noticing when you are putting yourself priority and when you're not.
Yeah. And you are right. It is literally that decision to, and I don't know about you, but for me and for the clients I work with, it seems to be like they've either hit rock bottom, or they've just thought, right, I've had enough, no more, I can't take it anymore, or there's something where they've just had this light bulb moment where something's got to change. I mean, it happened to me. It was the death of my mother-in-law that made me just go, right, I'm not going through the other half of my life in the same way as I spent the first half of my life. That I want to take control. But it would be so much easier, and it would be less financially such a big investment, time such a big investment, if we just did it as part of life.
Yeah.
And then it is slowly changing in schools and things like that. Not, nowhere near enough. But yeah, if it didn't take a big life event,
we didn't have to wait until you're diagnosed with a chronic illness before you. And even people that once they've got that diagnosis, they're still going on. They're not taking it as a, and I did the same thing for a while, because I got the diagnosis, and then the MS, the flare-up disappeared. So that's me.
Gina,
I'm okay then.
I did it for 20 years. So there's no judgment here. We've talked about this before, my relationship with it and how I boxed it off and ignored it until it hit me over the head again.
Yeah, that nice big elephant that comes in the room and sits on top of you. Yeah.
So I did it, there's no judgment. And I did it for 20 years. I just wasn't willing to do that anymore, up and down and up and down and up and down. I wanted to find that elusive balance.
Yeah.
It's so easy.
Well, it's a lot easier than you think. I think it's the journey of knowing yourself, really, isn't it? And it's, and you're never there. You never get it. They talk about peeling the onion, but it's never, if ever, evolving.
Yeah.
Evolving onion. Yeah. That you just get deeper and deeper in, and you peel off the layers and you sort it out. But it is incredibly rewarding.
Absolutely. Well, there's nothing beats it. And you sort of, again, it's like we brought up with the mentality of, right, you're going to lose, let's just take losing weight, because we all understand that. I'm going to go on a diet and I'm going to lose 2 stone. And so the destination is losing that 2 stone. And then when we've reached that destination, we stop and we go back to what we thought. And then we
wonder why we put on a load of weight again.
Yeah. So, but when we do the route that we've done, you realize that it's never a destination. It's just this constant unraveling and constant unraveling and constant unraveling. And with the cycles again, it's like, well, right, this didn't go so well, this went really, really well, let go of that, and let's go around the cycle again and learn and grow and learn and grow and learn and grow. And it's just so exciting.
Yes, it is. I mean, you're so I suppose it's worth saying to anybody who's out there who's if you're listening this far into the conversation, you haven't put us off yet, then chances are you're a little bit intrigued about what we're talking about. And if you're not on your journey quite yet, then I would suggest that listening to this is a step towards that, and certainly listening to that symptom-free MS summit. And this is not just for people with MS, although that's been the shared experience of all of us there, but it's really for any long-term condition or any condition at all, really, that it is possible to find your own path, because there is no one way. There's lots of people like ourselves that are sharing what's worked for us, but everyone's different. Everyone's got different symptoms,
because we're these amazing, complicated, complex human beings, and your physiology is different to my physiology. And even though we share the same chronic illness, we've said this before, your symptoms are very different to my symptoms, and our journey is very different, and our what will work for you won't work for me, because my physiology is different to yours, and your way of thinking is different to mine, and your lifestyle is different to mine, and all these things have to come into play when we're on that journey back to health. One size does not fit all.
It doesn't. We have to look inwards. We have to work out what's right for us. And we can try different things, we can try different diets, exercise, modalities of healing, all that sort of stuff, and some may work and some may, well,
but I think that overwhelms people as well, because it's like, well, where do I even start? At least with the doctor, it's
they sort of point you in a direction,
ground. Whereas when you go down the holistic, oh God, I'll try this and try that, and what if that doesn't work? And that feels, but I think that's, I'm going to say this, aren't I, because I'm a coach, but I think that's the benefit of a coach. I think that's the modality alongside the doctor that gets to the root cause and sees what would work for you. Those lifetime changes, those little tweaks in habits, those little tweaks in diet, those little tweaks in the way you think and process emotions, those little tweaks in, and then sort of doing a bit of acupuncture or a massage alongside it is only going to benefit then, isn't it?
Yeah. And I think it's also, once you start connecting with yourself and connecting with your body, then your body will start to teach you what it needs, whether that's acupuncture or a swim or a massage or whatever it is. So getting in, and and I'm definitely still very much learning that. It's a continual process, but I do believe I'm getting better at it, and that comes from putting yourself as a priority.
Absolutely. I think that is the more and more I never thought I had a problem with putting me as I never saw myself as a martyr, or I never saw myself as someone who put me at the bottom of the pile. I never felt like I had boundaries out of place or anything like that. But the more and more I've delved into this, and the more and more I work with people, I realize we're all like that. It's sort of, especially, I'm going to say it, especially as parents, as mothers, because it sort of comes along with an umbilical cord.
Yes, doesn't it? Just absolutely. And there's part of us as parents as well, and certainly what I'm learning, because my boys are sort of 17, 15 now, so I get into the point and I still want to play the savior, and I noticed myself doing it. I was like, oh right, I didn't really have to tell him how to do that or do that for him, did I could so it's recognizing when you're doing these things, but also doing them because there's part of me that wants to be the mummy that solves all their problems for them, but it's not necessarily teaching them how to get up into the big wide world.
And that resilience that they're going to need in that big wide world, they need that resilience and that able to process it and work it out for themselves. And I am totally aware that if they were 8, it would be a different answer that I'd be given. But my children are the same age as yours, and we're sending them off on their big adventure now, aren't we? So we have to let them go.
Yeah, exactly. So it's and hope that we've done enough, which I'm sure we have. We're not totally gone, are we? We're still there, and with the cord attached somewhere.
Yeah, definitely. I think as well, on a final point that I wanted to make was, because especially with the diagnosis of a chronic illness, it's so medicalized. The term, multiple sclerosis in itself is like quite a woof. That's not language we use day to day. That medical language isn't what we use every day, and medication is Latin, ridiculous long words.
You can understand it.
So we've overcomplicated health, we've over medicalized health, and we are overwhelmed with too much information, which all compounds our mistrust of our own intuition. And what we do, isn't it, is put that back, put that control back, put that power back firmly on our shoulders, which feels overwhelming and too much responsibility in the early days, which is why you need somebody to hold your hand. But very quickly, it's like, oh my God, this is so easy. This is so much fun. Oh my God, I can do it. oh my God, I do understand what this, I don't know,
means
heartburn means. Oh, I do. Oh, I get it. Oh, right, give me more of it. Give me more of it. Right. You know, and I think it feels like, especially if like your chronic illness has beaten you down and taken your confidence away and your self-worth and things like that. But it does happen really, and I've worked with some really poorly clients, and I don't care.
It changes quite quickly.
It changes really quickly.
Yeah.
And
if you're allowing it, isn't it? You're allowing to change what you believe is possible. I think is fundamental part of it. And like you say, working with a coach, or at least having a community of people that think the same way, that aren't going to drag you back into your own old way of thinking again, because it's very easy to get caught up in our old stuff. So this is a new way of thinking, and anyone who's listening to this hopefully is already on that sort of new way of thinking, wanting, if we can choose our beliefs, then why wouldn't we choose that? Actually, we've all got control over our own healing, and all we have to do, is readjust our balance a little bit. But the interesting thing about our body's ability to heal themselves is it's not like we have to do anything to get them to heal. It's not like we've got to go in with spanners and scalpels or anything like that. Really, all we have to do is learn how to totally and utterly relax, show our body that it's in a safe place, and then the immune system, the central nervous system, and all those systems inside of us that we don't even have to think about will just work their magic. But all the time we're in a slight bit of stress or anxiety or worry or anything like that, they're not going to work. So really our job is to help people get into that place of complete.
I think quite visually, and I just think of myself as the CEO of my body now, and my trillions of cells are minions. That's how I see it. And so if I am a CEO of a big multinational business that is my body with my trillions of employees, wouldn't I want them to feel like they can have fun and have well-being, and they have all these wonderful benefits of being employed by me? And that's how I think. And so why wouldn't I want my employees to have the best? And the best is me giving them the best nutrition, the best environment, the most positive thoughts. And then every time I have a glass of water, I just imagine the minions swimming and having fun and splashing around.
I love that.
It's quite childlike. And I remember saying it to my daughter when she was really young, before I even went on this journey, and she just got it, because obviously it's quite a childish analogy, and she just got it straight away, and I've just carried it on. And I love it.
And it's a really good idea, because some of the work I'm also doing is actually working in organizations, and exactly that, to help organizations really they talk about the whole human in the workplace. And that's like each one of your little millions. So how can you make sure that person is not just showing up to work and doing what they need to do, but they're actually showing up to work full of energy and full of health and happy and looking for ways, they're likely to be more productive. Therefore, the whole company is going to be more profitable, and everyone's happier and everyone grows together. So it is a bit of a utopian vision, but totally possible as well.
Well, to be honest, I don't think businesses have got any other choice now but put health and well-being as a priority. The pandemic has forced their hand, and employees are now choosing where to go and work, because obviously a lot lost their jobs. And there's so much evidence now to suggest that pay is not top. It is that work-life balance, that well-being, how you're going to treat me, what are your values, all that sort of stuff is huge now. So and that's got to be a good thing, because absolutely,
if you've got a full-time job, which, let's face it, most people have, You know, that is a good chunk of your waking hours is spent at work. And if you're not happy there, you're in a toxic environment, you're not feeling fulfilled, then your health is going to suffer as a result, isn't it?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So. Yeah. And so, you know, do they just pay for sickness and absenteeism? Because productivity plateaued in the UK long before the pandemic, and it plateaued because we're all exhausted.
Yeah, we're all ready for, you know, the pandemic, you know, was a breath of fresh air for a lot of people, wasn't it? It was forcing them to stop.
I've got a book, I don't think I've got it here, but there's a book, there's so much evidence to say a 4-day working week for the same money.
Yeah. Yes.
But you get more productivity out of somebody
if they get more to rest time.
Yeah.
Which goes back to what you were saying earlier. You know, anyone who doesn't prioritize rest as you know, as an essential, then, and it's quite interesting because this is something that I've been working on, and it's difficult, you know, even though I work for myself and there's nobody telling me I've got to work this, you know, I do work a lot, but I'm just considering giving myself the whole of Monday off, which feels like a, don't know, Monday where I don't even switch my phone on, Monday where, I don't know. So it takes some moving.
It does take some moving, but I have to say, because obviously for me, fatigue, it was my nemesis for so long. So energy and protecting energy and fueling energy is all about energy for me, because the minute I feel that dip, that's what I really focus on, and help my clients with. The less you do, the less productive you think you are, you're actually more productive. So the slower you go, the slower you move the dial, the more you achieve.
Well, I think it's around just recognizing when you are tired and giving yourself, because on those times, and you'll know the thing when you've got one email to send and somehow it doesn't get sent, and you try 100 different ways and it, everything is telling you to stop. So that is the time, and I'm a lot better now at saying, okay, I'll take a breather, and then actually the next time you pop on to send the email, it just goes and you've done it in a second. So instead of you taking 3 hours to do something, it's taking 3 seconds. And that's the energy behind it.
And you know yourself as well, if you're I've got to do this and I've got to do that, and this email and that email, but that genius idea that you've been trying to work out a problem for all day, but you've been so busy and this problem's not working and you want to throw the computer out the window, and then when you're just falling asleep, when you're fully rested and relaxed, that idea just pops into your head.
And actually, if you can take some time out, you can those ideas will pop into your head in a better way, and you don't have to be running 100 miles an hour in order to get to where you want to be.
Absolutely.
But that definitely takes some practice. But then once you start noticing those little things and consciously noticing them, yes, that's looking back on your day, well, what went well today, how did I prioritize myself, in which way did I prioritize, and give yourself a pat on the back for that, because we don't do that very often either, do we? Congratulate ourselves for the little things that we do during every day, and every day's full of stuff that we get done and interactions that we have and all that sort of stuff. And and noticing. I think there's that mindful practice that we all talk about really, but it's actually being. I think it's that being rather than doing.
It is. Well, we are human beings, aren't we? We're not human doings.
No, that sounds a bit weird, doesn't it?
I know. I say it all the time and my children laugh, but it's true. We've been living our lives like human doings, and then when we dare to become ill and get a diagnosis, there's an assumption that we're broken and need fixing.
And it's all bad.
We're not broken. We don't need fixing. It's our body's way of saying,
hey,
let's
listen.
Be different. Let's be different. You're the chosen one to learn this new way.
Yeah.
Because how you've been doing it for 40 odd years is totally bonkers.
It's not working anymore. Not that it ever was, but it's now definitely not. Yeah. It's the cumulative experiences that you've had that are just it's putting a wear and tear on your body. And just like if you did the same thing with your car and you never gave it more oil and you never took it in for a little rest and repair, then that will happen again to that.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, that's it. That's all we have to do is prioritize ourselves. So if anybody's struggling with prioritizing yourselves, then come and speak to myself or Andrea, and we can have a conversation.
We'll sort you out.
Yeah, we can have a conversation that will move you up towards making you a priority.
And we're talking about 1%. We're talking about shifting your perspective by 1%.
Yeah.
And then 1% becomes 2%, becomes 3%. But if
it doesn't feel hard. It's not like totally, changing your whole life. It's
you shift it by 1%. You're going in a totally different direction instead of being stuck on this autopilot. Yeah. That's it. 1%.
Yeah. Easy. So you said that you would finish us off. We would end the session with a simple, easy breathing exercise that we can all do.
Well, as one of my main values that I tell everybody, that health is simple. We've overcomplicated it, we've confused it, we've medicalized it, all this. Health at its core is simple.
Yeah.
Honestly, it really, really is. So you can go down the meditation route. I love it. You can go down the visualization route. You can go down the mindfulness route. You can go down the yoga route. You can do all these beautiful, beautiful practices. All take time. But you don't have to. You don't have to do any of that. You've got this beautiful tool that you use 20,000 times a day.
Wow.
Unconsciously, called your breath, and you can consciously breathe as often as you want. So when I'm not talking and not eating, which isn't very often, this is shut and I breathe through that. It's the only tool that we have got in our toolkit to speak directly to our unconscious brain. And we can tell our unconscious brain in any given moment that we are safe, that we are relaxed, that all is well, and that it can stand down from stress, from anxiety, from worry, from concern. And all it takes is 3 deep breaths. And the easiest way to make that a habit is to habit stack. Do a habit on top of an existing habit. So every time you go for a wee, every time you put the kettle on, every time you go in the car to drive from A to B, every time you are making the tea, every time you're watching a bit of TV. You're going to do those things anyway? Let's breathe. Consciously breathe in that moment. 3 deep breaths. Ready?
I've been doing it already. I'm already calm, but yeah, I'll go with you.
you go into Zen state really quickly, don't you, Gina? I love it. So we're going to do the 5-5-7 breath, which is my favorite breath because I love a longer exhale. So we're going to breathe in for 5. We're going to hold for 5, and we're going to breathe out for 7. So I'll count you through the first one, and then we'll do another 2. So just before we start,
do we hold our breath once it's out?
We'll breathe back in again.
Right.
So it's not a box breath.
It's not a box breath, right? Okay.
So before we start, just do a mental note of where your stress levels are now. Just a mental note. So I'm going to say mine's reasonably low. Mine's about 5. So that's quite good.
So 10 would be really stressed and 1 would be not stressed at all. Right,
yes.
Okay.
Sorry.
I'm probably on a 3 at the moment, actually. I'm pretty good.
Cool. Brilliant. Okay. So when you're ready, just take a deep breath in for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and hold 2, 3, 4, 5, and out. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And we'll do it again. In for 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hold for 2, 3, 4, 5. And out for 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Last time. In for 5, 2, 3, 4, 5. And hold for 2, 3, 4, 5. And out completely for 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Where's your stress levels now?
Oh, it's yeah, on the floor. It's amazing, isn't it?
Carry on with your day.
Yeah,
that's it.
It's
What
amazing.
was that?
How long did that take? Less than 2 minutes, probably. Yeah.
And that will change your whole dynamic, focus, decisions. It will change everything. And then maybe you want to do it again in half an hour's time.
Yeah.
An hour's time.
Just the way you see the world shifts, doesn't it? Which is a beautiful thing. So so thank you once again for joining me, Andrea. I really appreciate you being here, and we've covered some great things this evening. I think main one really is prioritize yourself, get yourself into and use something as simple as this, this 3 big breaths that really can calm you down and make that part of your day. And anybody who's interested in knowing more about self-healing and using the gift of illness to move forward into the life that you really want, then this summit is going to be a great place to start, because I'm really excited. There's not just us, there's 22 other people that have worked their own journey through and are called to share what they're doing. So it's really exciting. So I'll share the link below. I'll also share the stuff to get in touch with Andrea, and look forward to episode 21.
Yeah, thank you.